So today we are going to talk about IELTS writing. So the previous class, we spoke about IELTS reading. So like, as I told you before, if you can remember that IELTS reading is known to be the second hardest after writing. So today I'm going into the hardest part of IELTS, that's the writing part. So what I thought was not to make you afraid of it or anything. It's just that I thought this would be better to go into the hardest part so that you get an idea, because everyone loses band scores or get lower band scores for writing. So if you're more familiar and if you practice writing, that's the best way to score for writing. All right, so today I will be talking about general writing. So as you know, we have IELTS, we have academic as well as general. So when it comes to academic and general, I gave an overview in the previous class. So academic is more into the academic perspective, but general is like more generalistic, like writing a letter or something like that. But in, like, for example, in task 1, but in task 2, those two will differ. So today I'm going to talk about the general writing task 1, which is an informal letter. So you could either get informal letter or a formal letter. So it depends during the exam day. So today I'm going to talk about how to write an informal letter. All right. So in today's class, I'll be teaching you about the question prompt, the type of question that you will be getting, either in paper-based or in computer-based, the type of question you'll be getting for an informal letter, a model letter, which will show you how to get a band score of between 8 to 9, and the structure, the flow, the vocabulary, and the grammar that goes into account into that letter, the informal letter, and top tips to get high scores in writing an informal letter for the task 1. All right, so over here, what I've shown you is the IELTS writing, general writing criteria, how the IELTS examiners, how they mark you. For example, over here, and you can see in the left, you have band scores of 9, which is the highest band score you would get, 8 and 7. So these band scores are assumed or are, like, thought of as high band scores. Like if your English is really well and you have written the essays really well, these are the scores that you'll get, 7 and above. So these are what the examiners will look for. For example, task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. So what do you mean by task achievement? Task achievement means, for example, like the question prompt. If you're given a question, you need to make sure that you answer to that question, to what the questions ask you. If you have, for example, memorized some essay, or like, for example, an informal letter, you just memorize it randomly and you think, okay, I can go to the exam and just write down whatever I memorized, that's not going to work. So you have to make sure that you cover up all the points that they ask for. All right. And then you have coherence, and cohesion is making sure that the sentences link. There is a flow in sentence. Each sentence are linked. Like, for example, the previous sentence are linked to the adjacent sentence. And there is a proper flow, and the linking words. What are the type of linking words? Whether you have used various linking words to link complex sentences. That's what it means. And it should make sense. Even though you can't just link, and it should not make sense. It needs to make sense after linking compound or simple sentences. And then you have lexical resource. Lexical resource basically means a variety of words, whether it's complex words, or you have to use a variety. Don't just stick to one word. For example, I'll be teaching you right now. I'll show you. Don't just stick, if it's one word, don't use it repeatedly. Make sure that you use synonyms. Like I said before, use various synonyms to show that you are aware of this language and you know this language quite well. Then you have grammatical ranges. So they see for grammar how well the sentences you have used, the various grammatical, like for example, simple sentences, compound sentences. So these are the things that examiners would look into. All right. So going into the question prompt, so basically you should spend around 20 minutes for the task, for this task 1. And the question for this question asks for, so it says, a friend who lives in another country has invited you to come and stay with him or her on your next holiday. You are too busy to accept the invitation. Write a letter to your friend. In your letter, you need to thank him, A, or her for the invitation. B, explain why you cannot come. C, ask him or her about any other times that you could visit. So the question says that you should write at least 150 words. So IELTS is basically they are lenient. It's not like PTE or any other English exams. If you go beyond 150, they would not penalize you, but you should not make sure that you should not go beyond like 250, 250 or something. That's just a waste of time. And you should make sure that it's not below 150 also. Yeah. So you do not need to write any addresses. So you don't need to write addresses. And you should begin your letter as follows. Dear somebody. Yeah. So, all right. So over here it says, Dear Rudyard. So you can see over here that I have distinctively separated this essay or this letter into three distinctive paragraphs. You can see there's 1 paragraph, 2 and 3. And also I have ensured that these 3 paragraphs are of similar size, you know. So one is not less than the other, or like one is not comparatively more than the other. So it's somewhat similar sizes. So you should make sure you follow this style so that you don't go beyond or below the word limit. And it's more pleasing when you see this format, and like it's easier for the examiner to read through and understand what you have written. All right. So when we go into this, as you can see, dot point 1. So these are dot point 1, 2, and 3. It refers to the 3 points in the question prompt. All right. So you remember you should thank him in the first one, and then third you have to explain why you cannot come to his place. And then the third point was if you could ask for another time to visit him or her. All right. So the first paragraph, I have utilized the first paragraph to thank. So basically the whole paragraph.
Madam, hello, madam.
Yeah.
Madam, still there are some students are waiting, ma'am. They are in waiting room. Please allow them to join this class.
There's one, right? There's one. Only one person, right? Okay. Is that fine? Hello?
Fine, madam. Fine. Okay, fine.
Yeah, only one person was there, right? Okay. If you just see anybody, just let me know. Yeah, stop me, because since I'm doing the lecture, I'm not looking at that. Yeah. All right.
Okay, madam.
So now the first paragraph, it's all about the first bullet point. So I'm not combining, I'm not bringing the second bullet point into the first paragraph. I'm not including that because that will be a whole mess. So the first paragraph is all about the first point. I'm thanking him for the invitation. So it says, thank you so much for your invitation. Okay, there's somebody else. All right. It's really a really generous offer to put me up at your place in Tokyo. I'd really like to come, and it's very kind of you, but unfortunately, I won't be able to make it due to my hectic work schedule. Yeah. All right. So the second dot point was explaining why I cannot come over to his or her place. So over here, as you can see, I have mentioned I won't be able to make it due to my hectic work schedule. So the second point, the beginning of the second paragraph, I have mentioned over here, like why I won't be able to come is because of my hectic work schedule. So I'm just giving him a brief. This is why I won't be able to come. So I explained that the hectic work schedule in my second paragraph fully, very comprehensively. Yeah. So I've said I've just started a new teaching job and I've been working around the clock. It's been intense. I don't mean to complain. I've been enjoying I've been enjoying it immensely, and the school I'm working at is actually our old high school, which has been a lot of fun. Do you remember Mrs. Brown? She's actually my supervisor. All right. So the second paragraph solely concentrates or focuses on the fact that why I won't be able to, why I won't be able to visit her in her country. So now the third paragraph, what was that point? So if we go back, the point says, ask him or her about other times that I could visit. So the third paragraph solely mentions or describes about that, elaborates on that. Could you let me know of another time I can visit? Because of the school holidays, I'll be free in the new year and I'll also be free in winter. So if you're available then, I'd certainly love to escape the cold to visit you, right? So that is there. And so here, so that explains that. And over here, the last one is, I can't wait to hear from you. Thank you, or see you, and Amal, or your name. Yeah, it's that part is missing over there. I think it has gone beyond the slide. So this is saying a signing off, not in a formal way. Like when you sign off here, I say, I can't wait to hear from you, Amal, or whatever your name, and just sign off. Yeah. But if it's a formal letter, you would rather sign it off as yours sincerely or yours faithfully. That would be a more formal way of signing off. But since this is an informal letter, this is your friend, you should make sure that you sign off informally. Say, I can't wait to hear from you. I hope to see you or hear from you soon. Bye. And you just put your name, right? All right. So from the instructions, as you can see from here, it says dear. To start with dear, whoever. So I've started dear Radyard, no addresses above, because as you know, I'm sure like you know how to write letters, whether it's informal or formal. You start with the address or the date, right? So over here, the question specifically mentions not to mention any addresses, just start with dear somebody. Yeah. So I've mentioned dear Radyard. And here I've kept at least 150 words. I make sure that it's at least 150 words. You do not write to intent address, and it begins with dear. Yeah. All right. And over here, thanking him for his invitation, or the whole paragraph is about thanking him for his or her invitation. So over the second paragraph, it mentions explain why I can't come. And the third paragraph mentions to ask him or her for another day to visit him or her in his country, that's in Japan. All right. Okay, so here is a friendly sign off. As I mentioned, it needs to be an informal way of signing off. Yeah, you should never sign off in a formal way for an informal letter. Yeah. Okay, so over here we see the flow. So in the flow, you should make sure that there is a flow in all the paragraphs. So over here, you can see the first and the second and third. You should make sure that there is a flow. And how do you make sure that there is a flow? So how you make sure is that making sure that the sentences in each paragraphs are linked. For example, over here, as you can see, at the end of the first paragraph, I've said, I won't be able to make it due to my hectic work schedule. And then I've explained my hectic work schedule in the second paragraph. Yeah. So, see, I won't be able to make it due to my hectic. And then I mentioned, okay, this is why my work is quite hectic in the second paragraph. So, there is a link in that, and that link is a nice flow. I've started it in the first paragraph and I've elaborated in the second paragraph, and not just linking the paragraphs, it should also link the sentences. The previous sentence should have a link with the next sentence. Yeah. So for example, thank you so much for your invitation. It's really a really generous offer to put me up at your place in Tokyo. I'd really like to come, and it's very kind of you. So she has invited, and I'm thanking her in my first sentence, full stop. And I'm also elaborating. I'm like, so happy. So the next sentence shows that I'm so happy for her offer. So there is a link. This is how you start, and then you link it with another sentence so that you don't lose words and your word limit is achieved. Yeah. And also that, as I mentioned before at the beginning, the paragraphs needs to be of similar sizes. So this is how I can achieve by elaborating. This is my main idea. Thank you for your invitation. And with that main idea, I elaborate it more in the coming sentence. For example, my second paragraph, I just started a new teaching job and I've been working around the clock. That's my first sentence. And then I elaborate on my work. It's intense. I don't mean to complain. I've been enjoying it immensely. And the school I'm working at is actually our old high school. So it's elaborating on that first sentence. Yeah. So there should be a nice way of linking a flow among the upcoming sentences in one paragraph. All right. Okay. So now we go, okay, so over here it says take one idea and elaborate. So that's what it means. Take the first sentence, you put that idea in the first sentence and then elaborate on it in the following sentences. Yeah. So then we go to vocabulary. So in vocabulary, you should be aware that you need to think about natural sounding phrases. The phrases that you're using should be of a natural sounding, yeah? And then you should utilize collocations. I'll mention what collocations are. Informal or interesting phrases, phrasal verbs, those are there. And then try to avoid using the same word several times, yeah? So here we see in the letter, it says generous offer. That's a collocation. What's a collocation? Collocation basically means two or more words where you can combine them together to give a meaning that is more, it gives the meaning a more intense, an intense way of saying something. For example, if you say offer, you know what offer is. But when you say generous offer, okay, this guy is very generously offering something. So you know it's quite an intense way of putting out something. Yeah. So put me up at your place. That's a phrasal verb. And my hectic work schedule. Hectic work. So work is basically known to, work is something that you have to do something physically or mentally, and it takes energy. So it's before that I've used a, hectic. So it's an hectic work. So that is a collocation. Yeah. And then working around the clock, that's a phrasal verb, a nice way of saying, or an idiom, basically. Working around the clock, it's like I'm always busy and I don't mean to complain. Enjoying it immensely, another collocation. Enjoying immensely. So how do you enjoy? Immensely. So that's another collocation. A lot of fun. That's another collocation. Fun. I had a lot of fun. So that's another collocation. Yeah. So do not repeat the words that are coming over here. As you can see, I've circled free twice. Yeah. So free, I've used it once. Free, I used it another time. But the third time, I make sure that I don't use the word free, but I've said available. So this is what I mentioned. Do not use the same word several times. Maybe two is fine, but more than that, no. You just use whatever synonyms that you can, of, to make to show the examiner that you know English words, you know synonyms, you know a lot. Your vocabulary is finely polished. Yeah. So that's there. And then certainly love to escape the cold. All right. So then we go into grammar. So grammar, to get a high score, you need to show Grammar, to get a high score, you need to show the usage of a range of different grammar. So you can't just use just simple sentences. No, that won't work. Just compound sentences. No, you should make sure that simple sentences or compound sentences are linked together. How do you link together these ones? You use linking words. And what are linking words? Linking words are words that are used to connect independent sentences, such as due to, whereas, however, therefore. So you can use these to link compound or simple sentences. So there's another thing. If you do not use these linking words in your essay or in your letter, you will not score a band of 4 and higher than 4. You will not score a band higher than 4. You will only given a band score of 4. So these linking words are basically looked into by examiners. Like as I mentioned before, coherence and cohesion. This is what they see, whether you can link compound words, whether you're familiar, whether you're natural at linking all these sentences together, and it should make sense. Yeah. So this is something that's very important, and then you should make note of that. Yeah. So concisely write various sentence types into your essay. Okay. All right, so over here you can see I'd really like. So these are like contraction. Instead of I would, instead of me mentioning I would. If it was a formal letter, I would say I would. But since I'm writing for a friend, it's an informal letter, I say I'd or it's, because it's my friend, so I don't need to be formal. All right, so I'd really like to come, and it's very kind of you, but unfortunately, I won't be able to make it due to my hectic work schedule. So due to is a linking word. It's a phrase that links these two sentence, sentence. This is an incomplete sentence. I'd really like to come, and it's very kind of you, but unfortunately I won't be able to make it due to hectic work. It's not a sentence. It's like, it's just a few words over there, which is linked by the linking words over here. All right. So I've been working. So instead of saying I would, I said, I have. Instead of saying I have, I've mentioned I've been working, contractions, and which has been. So I'm working at it at this old high school, which has been. It's linking. These words are linking. A lot of fun. These hanging words. These words are hanging. Doesn't make sense, but it's linking these the previous words or the previous sentence with the following words. Yeah. So do you remember Mrs. Brown? So that's another interesting type of sentence to add a question over there. Do you remember Mrs. Brown? You can include that questions as well, just to ask your friend. And then could you let me know if another time I can visit? Because, so I've used a conjunction there, because at the beginning of the sentence itself, of the school holidays, you say, see, I use contraction, be free in the new year, and I'll also be free in winter. So if another conjunction. So I've used conjunctions, a lot of two conjunctions in this sentence. So it's quite a complex sentence. You can see I've used commas to separate, and I've used contraction over here. So this is a complex sentence. I've used linking words, conjunctions as linking words. So that's quite good, that would impress the examiner. All right. So over there, so when we go, so we'll go into the top tips for informal letters. So what you should remember is to plan before you write. You should make sure that even though you're given 20 minutes only to write this task for task 1 for an informal letter or a formal letter, you need to plan. You need to plan ahead. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what first paragraph, this second paragraph, I'm going to say that. I'm going to elaborate on this. You should plan it out. Don't spend too long, maybe around 5 minutes just to plan it out. Or even 5 minutes is actually too much, but if you can plan it out before that, it's fine. But 5 minutes is ideal. You're given a pen and a paper, a rough sheet, so you can plan it out right ahead before you actually write on the exam sheet. Yeah. So use the person's first name. Do not go to Mr. Smith. You remember, this is an informal letter. Do not use salutations. Do not use Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith. That is formal. Okay. And then start with a friendly greeting. Do not write, I am writing too. That is a formal way of writing a letter. So just start, hey, hi there. Thank you so much. For example, in this letter, it says, thank you so much for inviting me. You just start it formally, informally, not in a formal way. So give each bullet points equal attention. You have to, for example, over here, we had 3 bullet points in the question prompt. You have to focus on those 3 bullet points on all the 3 paragraphs. Yeah. Each bullet point needs to be given a separate paragraph. For example, the first bullet point is all elaborated on the first paragraph, the second in the second paragraph, and the third point in the third paragraph. Okay. And you need to give equal attention means you have to make sure that the paragraphs are of similar sizes, similar lengths. So you need to elaborate on that point. Okay. use contractions. Since it's an informal letter, you use I'd or she's. You're writing for a friend, you don't need to say I would or she is. Okay, so use exclamation points because you're a friend, you're just surprised, you're happy to hear from her, so you can use exclamation points. And then you use your imagination. You can use your imagination to imagine, to talk about something. You say, oh, like, I'm being busy due to this. My work schedule is quite tough. I've been having sports meet the past month, or, use your imagination when you're writing it. And then use phrasal verbs such as put up, get off, etc. And avoid formal connecting of words. For example, linking words such as however, therefore, these are quite formal linking words, okay? So these formal words should be avoided. They should go into formal letters. Whereas in an informal letter, you can use so, but, conjunctions such as if, because, like those. And then you sign off in a friendly way. So you can say, I can't wait to see you. So do not sign it off as I look forward to, or yours sincerely, yours faithfully, best regards. Do not sign it off like that, because those ways of signing off is it's a formal way. So it should go into the formal letter. All right.